So today's 9th of March and we're taking the car in for a service. We're going to be taking it to Land Rover Bishop Stortford. So I wanted to put a little video together just to document my experience with them today. And the car's actually on 61,223 miles, as we can see there. So it's actually booked in for the belt change as well at the same time. I got a courtesy call off the service department yesterday just to check that everything's all good and that I'm still turning up this morning, which obviously I will be. And when I spoke to them, they advised that because I'm having the belts done, it's likely that the car will probably need to stay in for 2 days. What I also wanted to do before it went in was just use the diagnostic tool and just do a full scan of all systems just to see what errors or faults there are. What we can see here, we've actually got 4 different faults. So we've got one instrument cluster control module intermittent fault, a body control module which is with the headlamp. This one was the rear camera intermittent loss. This one was a headlamp intermittent loss, antenna circuit audio front control module, and then this one was actually classed as a permanent digital audio broadcast module, the antenna. But what I was able to do was actually clear those faults, and they all cleared perfectly anyway. So the car actually, as it's sat here right now, has got no faults on it whatsoever. I ran that diagnosis last night, just as you can see from the date and time there. So that's pretty much bang up to date. It's exactly where it is and exactly where we are now. So I'm going to send the car in without any faults. I'm probably confident that those 4 intermittent faults will come up once again by the time I've driven it there, and probably, you know, the systems kick in, the lights come on and go off and stuff like that. But I'm not particularly too worried about those 4 faults. Then ones I've been living with for the last however long. I've been doing a fault code read every month for the last few months, and they always come back then 4. But the car's got no issues with that whatsoever. The lights all work, the radio systems all work, and I've got good reception. So I'm happy to live with them. But because there's been mixed reviews within the Land Rover community about Land Rover Bishop Stortford, I thought I'd put this video together today just to share my experience and see what type of service I get from them. Okay, so let's get going to Land Rover Bishop Stortford. Okay, so we've arrived, as we can see. Pleasant experience arriving, lots of parking spaces. It's only early in the morning, it's only 8:45 in the morning, or 8:40 at the minute. So I'm booked in, I've got my specific slot because of COVID. They booked people in for arriving at a particular time. But you can see obviously down there we've got 61224 miles on the odometer. So looking forward to getting booked in and seeing how this experience goes. So I'm not going to film people's faces or anything like that because obviously I won't have their permission and I don't want to get them on video. So today it's just going to be about my experience of dropping it off. Hopefully it's going to be really good. And then tomorrow or later today when we pick it up, I'll be able to give kind of a rundown as to how it all went. Okay, so that was altogether a pleasant experience. As I went in, I was kind of greeted by the receptionist, taken to a seat and offered coffee and stuff like that. So that was nice to get that. The showroom's immaculate. It's really tidy in there. It's a really nice place to be in, to be fair. Service assistant was really helpful, talked me through everything that's going to happen, kind of the phone calls and communications we're going to get. Just as I come out, I saw them going around the car taking pictures and stuff like that. Obviously any damage or anything like that has been noted. So yeah, we'll wait for a phone call from them later on, one with a little service video to show me any issues and stuff, and then yeah, just a general update on how things are going. So we can see actually, there goes the car now, it's just being taken in. Off it goes. Okay, so it's the next day and we've got the phone call to come and collect the car. So here we are. They've given it a wash over for us as well. I'm not quite sure what they washed it with, but it's leaves something to be desired, should we say. But we've got the car back. It's all okay. It's all done and dusted. We've got our little service book. So we'll take the car home and we'll have a little review. Just before we leave, we'll have a look down on the odo. We've got 61231. So we can see they've obviously taken it out for a test drive. Not too far, which is good, given the price of diesel today. So back home now, and we can see they've actually hoovered it out as well, which is quite nice. Not a great job, just like the outside, but they've cleaned it out, which is nice. So when I dropped the car off yesterday, what they said they was going to do was keep me updated, send me some emails through and stuff like that with some links to some videos and some kind of information about some of the things that they've observed. One of the things that they were doing was a health check. They categorised that with kind of red, amber and green problems or systems or whatever it might be that they've observed going around the car. On the report that came through when they emailed it to me, there was options for kind of selecting if I wanted them, but then there was also a link that I could go on to select that. and I could look through, see a video as well of the engineer walking around the car, checking the tyre tread depths and brake pad wear and stuff like that, showing me some of these more important red things that were noted on the observations. From those observations, I didn't bother going for any of them, so I just said no, carry out the planned work. But we can see on there that kind of what we've got, there are various different points that they've recommended and problems with them. There are some easy and simple straightforward points there, maybe some of them not so straightforward. I think the bottom one there, the transfer box, is weeping, so that was one of the things that the engineer showed underneath in the video. One of the big things that did concern me though in terms of service was the fact that it said recommend brake fluid change. So they actually did it to this car 16 months ago. It was in November 2020, I think it was, when it was last in for a service. And they did the brake fluid change at that point in time. So they must have it on their record surely. But at that point in time, they only charged me, well, I say they only charged me, they charged me £59.99 for it. But on here, they actually wanted to charge £150 for it. So yeah, I'm not too impressed by that. What it doesn't show though is any of those fault codes that we looked at, the 4 fault codes that we had, largely to do with, I think, the antenna and stuff like that we had, one of the lights, loss of communication and so on. They hadn't picked up on that at all. So it does make me wonder whether or not they actually plugged a diagnostic tool into the car at all, or whether they just went to some of the more common problems, such as excess play in the prop shaft centre bearing, which is a real common problem down underneath the car, about there somewhere. Looking around underneath the bonnet, everything's back together nicely. We've got all the covers back on, it's all nice and tidy, it's all nice and clean. Looking down and underneath and through some of the gaps, we can see obviously the evidence where they've done the work and changed the belt. They did the front belt and they did the rear belt as well. Underneath the car, obviously where they said about the prop shaft, to access that you need to take off that heat shield down, so that's all back on. So obviously they've taken that off to have an inspection there for those common kind of faults, obviously where that prop shaft is a common fault, that centre bearing. So that's all back on nice and tidily. So for the actual work they've done, I'm really happy with it. They've done a really good job. It's really nice and tidy. It feels good to drive, you know, there's no issues or anything like that. What I might do now is just actually plug the diagnostic scanner back in, make sure that they haven't left me with anything that I didn't have before. When it came to selecting some of those options where they'd kind of gone through and found a few various different issues, whether it was the tyre wear or that centre bearing or whatever it might be, the side steps I think they said, and the brake fluid, there was no pushy kind of sales pitch to try and get me to spend money. I said no, I don't want any of it doing, probably going to do most of it myself anyway. So there was no pushy challenges or anything like that, so that was kind of nice not to be kind of driven into spending more money. I didn't want it done and they accepted that straightforward. So the last time I had it serviced, and one of the reasons why I'm making the video, along with the feedback from other Land Rover owners, is because when they did the air filter, or when they did the service last time, they actually threw up a fault code where one of the MAF sensors had gone faulty. Now the car had no issues whatsoever, it went into them perfectly fine, it was working well, and throughout the service they come back and said that one of my MAF sensors was actually faulty or had gone faulty. Now they wanted to charge me £400 for that. I knew it wasn't an issue, I knew there wasn't a problem with it, yet they managed to somehow break it. I say it had somehow managed to go faulty while it was in their care. So fortunately at that point the car was still under extended warranty, so they changed it under that. But that was one of those things that I just wasn't particularly happy about at that point in time. However, my experience this time has been absolutely fantastic. Couldn't fault them. They've been keeping me informed all the way through, updated. The sales assistant, she's been absolutely wonderful. Like I said yesterday, she was kind of in training, but she's been really good, polite, helpful all the way through. If I want anything, she said, you know, let her know and she can kind of find out anything for me. So it's been a really nice experience, to be fair. I'm a little less worried about going back there next year when it comes to the service again. And I'm now really happy actually that I know a few problems that need resolving. So I will be changing the side steps later on this year, hopefully. Probably going to do that centre bearing prop or centre prop bearing as well. And then yeah, hopefully, you know, we can get many happy years worth of motoring out of this. So overall, with my service this year, change of those belts, front belt and rear belt as well, really happy with the service that I've received. It was a pleasant experience going into the showroom as well. I was treated really nicely, I was kept updated the whole way through, I was charged exactly what I was quoted as well. So to summarise then, one or two minor things. The thing about the brake fluid, that was quite interesting. You know, maybe they should just check their records a little bit more, pay a bit more attention to the stuff that they are meant to have done in the past as well, just to make sure that there's no issues with that. Since I had that brake fluid done, I've only done 4,000 or 5,000 miles anyway, so it really shouldn't need doing yet. Price wise, obviously a little bit more expensive than it could be at an independent, but I've managed to maintain my full Land Rover service history, which I'm really pleased about, obviously keeping the value of the car up slightly higher. Altogether, it's been a good experience this year, no issues really whatsoever. I would recommend obviously just checking some of the finer points like the brake fluid bit from there for me. If you want to get some extra works done, some of the things that they'd noted about the steps and the prop as well, just check the prices, get an independent price for it as well. But now I know the car's healthy again. We've got the belts changed, which I'm really happy about. We've got another however many years worth of driving in it, whether it's mileage or annual years based or whatever it might be. I know that they're done, so I've got nothing left to worry about on them. So in summary then, this time around, I'm really happy with the service that I've received, and I've got no qualms with going back there again next time. So hopefully that's been useful to someone. If you found it useful at all, give us a like down below. If you haven't done so already, remember to hit subscribe coming up here now. There'll be more videos coming out on this, obviously, to make those points better, all the points that we've got on the observation notes up there coming up, so side steps and stuff like that in the summer, hopefully when the weather's a bit nicer. But for today, thanks very much, really appreciate your time for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.